everyone, it's Megan. Welcome back to the library. Today we are going to talk about how you know when you should DNF a book. So in case you don't know, DNF means did not finish. And I don't know about you, but life's too short to read bad or even mediocre books. So how do you know when you should finally just call it quits, pull the plug, and put the book down, even if you've read like 75% of the book? So I've come up with some ways that I know that I should DNF a book. Honestly, I'm reading a book right now that I'm going to DNF, and that's probably why I want to make this video, because I'm realizing I'm seeing some signs that I'm seeing a pattern basically when I DNF books. So let's talk about those signs that you might see as well. Sign number one that you should DNF a book is that you are literally watching videos about whether you should DNF a book or not, or you're Googling it and reading about how you know if you should DNF a book. That's always a good sign that you should probably do that. In fact, I noticed that in the past, sometimes I would look up, signs you should DNF a book, and then I was like, wait a minute, if I'm literally Googling this, I should probably just go ahead and DNF it. So that's a pretty good start. Sign number two is that you find no redeeming quality in the book. So usually if there's at least one thing that I can hang on to that gets me through, then I will keep reading. Whether it's the characters, the plot, maybe the mystery or the suspense is so great that I just want to know what's going to happen, or maybe I'm really invested in one character, or maybe I love the writing style and I'm like, well, I'm enjoying this writing, I love the author's style, but I just don't really care about the plot or the characters. As long as there's something, then I will keep going. A good example of this would probably be Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. I was not a huge fan of the character. The characters were just pretty two-dimensional. The writing style was just very plain, very mediocre, nothing exceptional. But I just wanted to know what was going to happen. I wanted to know what was in this house that was causing people to have weird visions and things like that. So it was the plot really and the mystery that kept me going. So if you can find one redeeming quality, then maybe you don't DNF it. But if there's literally nothing, like the book I'm reading right now is called Queen of Blood by Sarah Beth Durst, and I honestly don't care about the characters, the plot, the writing, the mystery, the atmosphere. The setting was cool, but now I'm over the novelty of the setting after halfway through the book. So at this point, there's nothing redeeming about it, and I'm gonna DNF it. Number three that you should DNF a book is if you could stop right where you are, no matter how far you are into the book, and not really care if you find out what's gonna happen or not, and it wouldn't bother you to stop right then and there. A good example of this for me was The Drawing of the Three by Stephen King. It was the second book in the Dark Tower series. I really wanted to read the series because I knew it was famous, I knew it was fantasy. Turns out I just don't really like Stephen King. Anyway, that's beside the point. So I read book one, I powered through it, didn't like it. I made it literally, I would say 90% of the way through book two. I kid you not. I had maybe 60 pages to go, but I didn't care. I really did not care. If I stopped right then and there, it wouldn't have bothered me. So I decided to put it down with only 60 pages to go, because even 60 pages is just too much when I'm not enjoying it and there's so many other things to read. Sign number four that you should DNF a book is that when you have the time to read, you really don't want to pick it up. You decide to listen to a podcast instead, or you'd literally rather go do the dishes or anything but read the book. I find myself when I'm just not really into the book, I'm like, I guess I could go read, but I could go watch some random YouTube videos. Yeah, that seems more fun. So when other things seem a lot more fun to you than picking up that book, that's probably another sign that you could DNF it. Sign number five that you should DNF a book is that you really don't want to discuss it with anyone or even feel comfortable recommending it to anybody. So I am reading that Queen of Blood book right now. There is a student in my class in the library who has read this book, and honestly, I don't know what I would even discuss about it with her. I'm like, we could just talk about how it's okay, I guess. There's literally nothing to even discuss. I would not recommend it to anyone, especially on BookTube or anything like that. So yeah, I just, it's not like a book where if I'm really into it, I can't wait to find someone to talk to, and I'm like, oh yeah, tell me what what are your thoughts? It's I just really don't care. So I guess that's another sign you should DNF a book. Okay, sign number six that you should DNF a book is that you go online to read reviews or even watch videos that talk about that book to see if you're not the only one who feels the same way about it. You just almost want to know that you're not crazy and you want to feel kind of vindicated that that it's okay that you DNF it, basically. I did this with Empire of the Vampire by Jay Kristoff. I looked forward to this book for so long. I bought it, I paid full price, for the hardcover the day it came out. I was so excited. and I was like, this book is terrible. I couldn't stand it, but everybody was talking about how wonderful it was, and I'd not seen a negative review. So when I got about 100 or so pages in, I started Googling it and watching book reviews about it just to see if I could find someone else who felt the same way that I did. And when I did, I felt okay about it, and then that's when I actually decided to DNF it, was when I saw that other people had powered through it and they did not love it either for the same reasons that I didn't like it, so I could kind of commiserate with them, and then somehow that made me feel okay about DNFing it. So if that applies to you, then I mean, if you find yourself Googling it and wanting to see what other people say just so that you feel vindicated, then that's probably a sign you can go ahead and DNF it. Sign number 7 that you should DNF the book is that if you have to put it down, like if, you know, maybe you're at work and your lunch break's over and you have to stop reading, that you're totally fine with it. Like you can go on about your day and like you never really think about it again. But if you are enjoying a book, you usually don't want to put it down. You're like, oh, let me read just that one last page or something, you know, to that effect. And I did this with some of the last books I read, where I really, you know, the baby would be waking up from his nap and I was like, oh no, just give me a few more minutes. I've got to get to the end of this chapter. You know, if you're not finding that that's happening to you and you're totally fine with putting it down and you're like, okay, whatever, there it is, I'll lay it over there, I'll come back to it later maybe, and I probably won't think about it much in between, then that's another sign that you could DNF it. And finally, the 8th way that you know you should DNF a book is actually after you've already decided to DNF it. Once you decide and you've put it aside, you feel a sense of relief. I can't even describe it, but you know what I mean if you've DNF'd a bad book. It's literally like a weight has been lifted off of your chest and you realize that now you have time to read something that you really want to read, and you are so looking forward now to the next book because you know it's going to be better, and you're kind of more like hopeful, I guess, and maybe even kind of more optimistic because you're like, okay, the next book's going to be better. I'm going to pick a good one this next time. And when you kind of have those feelings, I feel like then you know that you made the right choice in DNFing that book. So those are some ways you know if you should DNF a book or not. Like I said, I realized I was hitting all of these with the current book I'm reading, so I'm gonna totally DNF it. If you find yourself in the same situation, don't feel bad about DNFing a book because life is way too short. Even if you're 90% of the way through the book, like I said, you know, drawing the 60 pages to go, I couldn't do it. So anyway, hopefully you guys will have found some useful tips in here, and I will see you again soon. Bye.